everybody for sticking through, staying a little bit late tonight to hear all of us speak about this really important race. I want to start out actually with some really great news. We learned this morning that the Jane Fonda Climate PAC has endorsed my campaign, and I cannot say how honored and excited I am to be recognized as a climate leader here in the state and certainly in this campaign. So let me just jump in. Some of you have heard me talk already, but I want to make sure you all get to hear. I got into this race back in April to fight Kevin Kiley and the fascism we could see was coming with Trump 2.0. I live in this district. This is my home. I've been protecting it and governing here for the last 10 years, living here for the last 20 years. So it was a natural move for me. Prop 50 passed. This became a D+10 district, and 3 more people jumped into the race. 2 of them jumped over from District 6. So as of today on this Zoom stage, I'm the only candidate in this race who lives in this district, who works in this district, and whose kids went to school in this district. And I find that's important because I am rooted here with my community. I would also, as an aside, with March Women's History Month coming up, would be the first ever woman representative in this district. So let me tell you a bit about my background. I'm a lifelong public servant. Public service is in my blood. I spent 20 years with the US EPA, protecting our water and air, and specifically our hazardous waste sites, and ensuring that corporations were held accountable for what they were doing there. I spent 10 years with the State Department of Water Resources, protecting the ecosystems around our waters, rivers, lakes, and groundwater, which is incredibly important in the state as well. So I've got this deep environmental background, this service ethic, and I've loved everything I've done. The last 9 years, in 2016, I decided to run for county supervisor here in Nevada County. I actually was asked to run. I flipped a seat from red to blue, and I won the next 2 elections handily. So I've been governing here for the last 9 years. I'm super proud that I've been able to deliver real solutions on the ground in a politically split board on important things like our homelessness issues, affordable housing, wildfire mitigation, and so many that I can't even name. And I'm most especially proud that I was able, as a progressive on a politically split board, to get a Pride resolution, a Pride Month resolution passed, and a climate change resolution. That is no small feat. And this is actually one of the reasons I believe we need more rural folks, people who know the rural area. We need more people who've been governing at the city and county levels because they understand how the legislation that gets made at the federal level actually gets implemented at the local level. And let me tell you, I have not had a congressperson come and talk to me about what I've learned in a very long time so that they could learn from that and put that in their legislation. A lot of talk about that, but doesn't happen very often. I've been endorsed by 25 other county supervisors up and down the state, urban, suburban, and rural. They've worked with me. They know that I listen, I learn, I'm persistent, and that I can get things done. And specifically, I led a working group for the state with other county officials to address our wildfire insurance crisis. We came up with resolution and solutions. We took it to Congress and to Sacramento. I think we're going to see some bills at the state level to take up some of our suggestions. And at the national level, I was asked to come testify on that. So we don't need to set up a new working group on that. You just need to elect me because I can start working on that on day one. I also want to emphasize, of course, that I am a grassroots campaign, not taking any corporate PAC money, not taking any dark money, not taking any APAC money. Now, that means I have to raise money far and wide, and I have a viable campaign. Although I want to end Citizens United and I've signed the Unrigged Pledge, I do have more than 7,000 donations from 4,000 individual donors, and my average donation is $57. So this is a totally grassroots campaign and has a populist appeal. I want to make sure you all understand that I have been a lifelong progressive. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself to illustrate that. I grew up in a household of teachers. Also, my father was a high school teacher and he belonged to the union. And I've been a union household growing up. And as a public servant, I've been in unions when I was not in management. I support all the union actions we need to take in Congress, especially the PRO Act to give unions much more power so they can get back to increasing the living wage for our working people. I have a group of lovely LGBTQ plus folks in my family whom I love dearly, and protecting them and supporting them and celebrating them has been a personal value for a very long time. I will always stand up in Congress for that community to do everything they need to be protected and that bias does not come into dealing with issues, economic issues, and so on in their lives. I am the proud wife of the son of a Mexican immigrant, and my children, stepchildren, and children are multi-ethnic. Looking at the issues affecting our immigrant community, the lack of access, the lack of dignity, the way they're being targeted and terrorized, and the need for massive immigration reform is a family value. We've been involved with this for a long time. When I get to Congress, I am absolutely determined to stop what is going on. I am calling for us to abolish ICE, to claw back the $75 billion they've just given them, that they want to give them more. We need to impeach Nome. We need to establish oversight. And I've got to do a full, complete immigration system reform so that there is enough room and ability for us to allow immigrants to come into this country through proper channels. This can all be done. You already heard about my environmental credibility, my credentials. I've been an environmentalist all my life. I could love to talk lots more about that offline with anyone who wants to. But I will be able to lead on facing climate change and investing in a green energy economy on day one as well. I'm very interested in centering youth right now. I'm incredibly depressed about the future our young people have in this country, and that's one of the main reasons I'm fighting for my kids, for my grandchild, for all the young people. I have committed to start a leadership council similar to the one Mike Thompson has set up, so that high school students can engage in better civic education, have easier access to Congress, and have a place they can build up their political cred without having to go through the party system. So that's one of my most exciting things that I'm pledging to do. So it should be no surprise that when I'm in Congress, my key issues are going to be to make this economy work for working people. That means repealing the billionaire tax cuts, enacting a wealth tax, digging in, spending much more money on affordable housing, investing in universal childcare, forgiving student debt, investing in public schools, and so on. These are the bricks and mortar of a working economy for working people throughout this country who have been neglected for far too long. Another priority is obviously going to be healthcare, the issue that can make or break people's living, people being able to stay in their homes right now. Day one, I will sign on to the Medicare for All bill. I want to codify reproductive health rights so that women never have to go through this ridiculous fight again. And I want to help our suburban and urban and rural hospitals, but particularly the rural ones who've been hanging by a thread for so long. And let me add on to this issue because this feels very personal right now. Like so many of you, I've recently had to deal with a health crisis. A week and a half ago, my 86-year-old mother was diagnosed with a large cancerous tumor. Now, it was a terrible week trying to find out what was going on. We were well cared for in a community hospital by incredible healthcare service people from A to Z who were all overworked and underpaid. At the end of the week, we got the great news that her cancer was easily treatable with a pill as an outpatient. Yay! Very exciting. Heard that the pill was expensive. As of today, my mom was told that her medication is being denied. Then we did some more work and somebody said it was overturned. Before I got on the call tonight, it was overturned again. So we're in for the fight of our lives. Healthcare is a human right. What's happening in our healthcare system is awful. It is completely broken. And if we put people in Congress with medical backgrounds, doctors, nurses, medical administrators, who are not going to attack this medical crisis or who haven't for the last decade, then we need to put people in who will. There is no excuse for us not having handled this before now. So I am deeply committed to this issue. Finally, I am going to be fighting back against this horrific administration. I already told you we're calling for abolishing ICE, impeaching, holding people accountable for their illegal and unconstitutional actions. We need to reform the Supreme Court. We need term limits. We need to codify ethics regulations, and we're going to need to expand it as well. And the final issue that really has got me on fire lately, and I'm going to be speaking out about it more and louder until something happens, is the issue of children in detention. Now, like on other things, Republicans owning this crisis, but Democrats have been part of creating this crisis, and they have done not nearly enough, soon enough, or fast enough. I expect every one of our congresspeople, Republican and Democrats alike, to be working their butt off to stop the detention of children for any reason whatsoever. These detention centers are functioning like prisons. They do not have potable water. They do not have good food, and there are no educational resources. We are creating PTSD in an entire generation of children. It's inexcusable. And if congresspeople right now are not fighting this, they should find another job. These are critical times. So I'll end with this. This is a national emergency. We are in an authoritarian regime now. The fight has to be big and tough and hard. There's no room for incrementalism and nibbling around the edges. Our house is on fire. What we need is someone who's going to get in there and fight the fire and then invest in a better future for our young people. What we don't need are more strongly worded letters with people saying seems to be a crisis and someone should do something about it. That is unacceptable. So I am excited to be in this race. I am persistent. I'm not going to get pushed out. And trust me, people have tried to do that. But I know my community. I love my community. And I believe I'm the best fit for this district. So I'd be excited and honored to have your vote. And I'm really looking forward to your questions. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Our first question will be from Melody. Please unmute.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Hi, Heidi. I just wanted to say that I've been following the Jeffrey Epstein arrest for almost the last 10 years. It physically sickens me that Donald Trump is in his position. I need to know what you plan on doing to get him removed, get him impeached, but not only that, how do you plan to hold him accountable and Pam Bondi and the Justice Department accountable?
Thank you for that question. What's happened with the Epstein files is inexcusable and abhorrent. The victims of these men, of Trump, of Ghislaine, of all the men who've been involved with this, have been denied justice for all these years, as you know, and they're continuing to be used as they're being used by not being given justice. This is, as a woman, I have to say, I do believe we need more women in Congress as well, because a lot of women aren't going to stand for this. What's happened to these women and these girls was rape. There were girls raped for years on end, and multiple years and years of men who perpetrated this or knew about it or heard about it and did nothing. They are liable. They are complicit. We're seeing in Europe right now as they're starting to open up the files, that men who've been named in those files are having to resign from their jobs. The public is not going to stand for it. That needs to happen here too. We must prosecute, I'm sorry, we must prosecute all the men and women who've been involved with this. It's going to take years, but it must be done. We have to stop the ability of these wealthy and well-connected men from using and abusing children for their sick desires and getting away with it. This has to be stopped now so it cannot happen again.
Thank you.
All right. Ryan, please unmute.
Hi, Heidi. Education rights are civil rights. As a member of Congress, what will you do to ensure students with disabilities can actually access those rights without families and them being traumatized by the system meant to protect them?
Thanks, Ryan. I recall you asked that question earlier specifically about the IEP. So I'd have to learn a little bit more about what's going on with these IEPs. I had my son go through an IEP once a long time ago. So I know those are tricky. But overall, I can tell you we must invest in public education and services for the disabled. Public school system and all the services surrounding them, including for disabled children, are so amazingly underfunded that we really need public schools are a big deal for me too. We need to invest in our children, providing the best that we can. For the disabled adults, those services are also severely underfunded. Again, as my work on a county supervisor, we partner all the time with nonprofits throughout our community to help all of our vulnerable communities, and disabled are one of them. So there's so much that can be done by investing and partnering with organizations who know what's needed in that space.
All right. Emily, please unmute.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, Heidi. Thank you for speaking. I'm a voter located in the Arden Arcade area. You highlighted your residency in the historic area of the 3rd District as being a benefit to your campaign. However, as someone not in that area, I'd like to know how you would advocate for those of us new to the 3rd District. What are your plans to become involved in the new areas to District 3?
Thanks so much for asking that. And I welcome having the Arden Arcade and so many other communities around Sacramento being part of this district. I've spent a lot of time meeting with the clubs and organizations there. I've been to celebrations in Rosemont and Fair Oaks. I've been getting out there as much as I can and seeking input from those of you who live there. I do know that there is much in common across urban, suburban, and rural areas, specifically the progressive issues that I'm championing, the affordability crisis, public schools and safety in schools, healthcare. These are issues that are across the board. And as I've already said, I will be advocating for them. Anything more specific than that, I do want to be meeting with folks out there. And I would appreciate you emailing my campaign and letting me know if you want to meet with me or suggesting areas I can show up and talk with people. I'll be spending much more time now that we're past this endorsement issue out in the Sacramento area, and I look forward to meeting with many of you.
We have a little less than 5 minutes left for questions. Erica, please unmute.
Hi, Heidi. I heard you say on Saturday at another club that Congressman Jared Huffman, who had endorsed you, pulled his endorsement that you'd already earned. And I think others should know what the establishment is doing to progressives. Can you share that story again?
Sure. When I started, actually, there's been a lot that's happened. When I started in running in this race in the old District 3, obviously I sought endorsement from a number of great organizations that I cared about, as well as from congressional members who I admired and respected. And Jared Huffman was one of them as a progressive leader in Congress. Also someone who's very familiar with the natural resources, which was a big issue in the old district. He did endorse me, which I was proud of. The only thing I can say is that after this pre-endorsement conference, so for those who don't know, my campaign was responsible for ensuring that the delegates who have a vote for endorsement were able to actually take a vote and decide who they wanted to endorse who they wanted the state Democratic Party to endorse. Without us doing that work, Ami Bera would have automatically been endorsed by the state. We successfully pulled that endorsement, and in the subsequent endorsement vote, he was denied the endorsement by the party, the only sitting congressman in the state of California that happened to. The next day, I got private texts and voicemails and messages from some folks I've been working with in Washington. And using the same language, I was told, number one, Jared Huffman was pulling his endorsement. And another congressperson, their senator, had said that they would no longer be working with me. I can only assume that the danger of this endorsement being pulled created somewhat of concern, and that leadership or someone decided that they needed to provide more support to Mr. Bera and deny me the support that I'd been given earlier. I will say I find this really disappointing. I've worked for a long time within the Democratic Party, fighting to get rural issues heard, fighting to get women's issues heard, and fighting to get progressives elected within the party. And I became completely disillusioned with that. So this is part and parcel of my desire to get in there and fight against the disaster that we have now, which is fully owned by the Republicans, but by the fact that the Democrats themselves have become feckless, have become too complicit and complacent, have gathered themselves of protecting themselves, making it more difficult for other local folks to get in to Congress, even though we need their voices. And so I find that very disappointing. But let me tell you something. I'm a persister. No one is pushing me out of this race as long as people want me to keep running. And so I will keep asking you for your support and asking you if you need me to do something different or fight for you in a different way. And I'm open to learning as well.
We have time for one more question. Chris, please unmute.
Well, thank you very much. I can be reached at rcr@worldvista.org, and I am running for Congress as well. That's
Chris, do you have a question?
yes, I do. I applaud the directions that you're going, and they're very similar to mine. I've been in service with the government in various ways, helping with setting up, military hospitals around the world with the VA's solution.
Please ask your question, Chris.
Yes. I would like to contact you after this talk and see if we can find some common ground.
Sure.
I have your address, so thank you.
Great, and thanks for your service.
Actually, we'll have Beck ask the final question. And let's see, actually, can we mute everyone? I'm getting feedback. Daniel, are you able to mute everyone? And Heidi, if you can unmute real quick.
Yep, done.
Beck, please ask your question.
As a young American and specifically as a college student, I think a lot of people in my generation are fearing that the guardrails have already come off and we're barreling into a pretty uncertain future. What would be your first step as a congresswoman to protect the rights of young Americans and their ability to protest and believe what they believe in?
Thanks for that, and thanks for what you're doing up there, Beck. Obviously, that's one of the most immediate concerns we have. First of all, with ICE's actions in our communities, going after immigrants and threatening peaceful protesters like you and others who are out there. That has to be stopped. Again, that means abolishing ICE. That means pulling back the funding, all of it, so we can stop it immediately. It also means holding the perpetrators of murder and the chaos that they're on purpose creating, holding them accountable. So there would need to be arrests. There needs to be people going to jail. And then we're going to have to establish an oversight facility to deal with this. So I've been following Ro Khanna, who's doing some really great work in Congress right now, actually taking action. And he's got a plan that includes abolishing ICE and looking at oversight to make sure that there are people actually holding the people accountable who are overstepping their authority. Now, obviously, we have the courts who are supposed to be tracking that, and they have been partially holding up, but they aren't enough anymore, and they can't act fast enough. So that would be probably the first thing I would need to do in Congress. And I'm fortunate that there are some great people there who are working on this, and I would collaborate with them immediately.
All right. Thank you so much, Heidi. At this time, we'll stop taking questions. If you do have additional questions, please put them in the chat to Barbara Smith, and please include your email, and we will send those along to Heidi's campaign. With that, Heidi, I'll give you 2 minutes to give your final thoughts and final statement. So take it away when you're ready.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much for sitting on this call this late evening. Thanks for bringing us all together. I'm going to start calling for a request for a debate. I think we should be able to talk to each other and ask each other hard questions, right? The more information you have out there about all of us, the better. So please talk to me, email me. I have some evolving views on things. I am really digging into what is going on in this country right now. And while I do that, I know that we need to be incredibly bold. We need to take action immediately. That's something you will get from me. I have a track record. It's important to send someone to Congress in this district who knows this district, at least most of it, and is able and willing to learn about the rest of it and is welcoming to the rest of it. We cannot simply put novices in there, and we cannot keep sending the same people back and expecting something different. I am rooted in this area. I'm knowledgeable about government. I've been serving at the local level, which is right now the only and most trusted part of government, because we meet our constituents every single day. We can't escape our decisions. We have to account for them, justify them, and we have to change our minds if people come in a group and demand that they do that. So I'm a coalition builder and I'm a fighter, and I would be honored to be your congresswoman in this district. And I welcome your questions and an ongoing conversation with any and all of you. So thank you again for the time. Appreciate it very much.